The halls of the Galactic Archive stretched endlessly, their walls humming with the stored memories of 1,000 civilizations. Holographic displays flickered in the darkness, each one preserving fragments of extinct species, forgotten wars, and mysteries that had haunted the galaxy for millennia. Among them, one exhibit drew particular attention: skeletal structure suspended in a stasis field, its bones massive and alien, tagged with glowing script that read simply, "Species unknown." Crowds of delegates from across the known systems gathered around it, their various forms casting strange shadows as they whispered theories and speculations. Some believed it was a creature from the void between galaxies, others insisted it came from dimensions beyond comprehension, but none could name it, and that made it sacred, untouchable, a testament to how much the universe still held secret. Then a human stepped forward from the crowd, his boots echoing against the polished floor, and spoke words that shattered the reverent silence. "Unknown. I killed him myself." The chamber erupted. Delegates turned as one, their compound eyes wide, their sensory organs flaring, their translators buzzing with confusion and disbelief. The human stood there, unremarkable by galactic standards, bipedal, carbon-based, no natural armor or weapons. Yet something in his posture commanded attention. He moved closer to the exhibit, his gaze fixed on the bones, with an intimacy that spoke of memory, of violence, of something deeply personal. An insectoid counselor chittered forward, mandibles clicking rapidly. "Impossible. These remains predate your species' space travel by millennia. Our best archaeologists have studied them for generations." The human didn't flinch. Instead, he reached up slowly, pointing at the creature's massive skull, at the fissure that split it cleanly down the center. "See that crack? Shaped charge, detonated at close range. I was there. I saw this thing's brain matter paint the inside of its own ship." The crowd recoiled. Some delegates backed away entirely, as if proximity to this human might be dangerous. A Velithian diplomat, her crystalline form refracting light in anxious patterns, spoke next. "That species annihilated entire star systems. They consumed the Heronth Collective in a single cycle. The Mordian defense grid, thought invincible, fell in ours. You expect us to believe a humana species barely 2 centuries into interstellar travel defeated them?" The human's expression remained calm, but something cold flickered behind his eyes. "Not just me, my species. And yeah, we defeated them, not because we were stronger or smarter or better armed. We won because we didn't know how to quit. While the rest of you calculated acceptable losses and planned strategic retreats, we loaded rifles and ran toward the screaming." He turned back to the bones, his voice dropping to something quieter, more dangerous. "This thing, this was their champion. The galaxy called them the Unnamed, treated them like forces of nature. We called them targets. The first time humanity encountered the Unnamed, Earth's military hadn't even standardized ship classifications. A small exploration vessel, the Prometheus, pushed beyond Orion's arm searching for habitable worlds, and found instead a graveyard. 17 planets, all bearing signs of advanced civilization, all stripped to their bedrock. Oceans boiled away, atmospheres burned off, cities reduced to fused glass. The crew documented everything, their reports growing more horrified with each ruined world they catalogued. They found no survivors, no warnings, no explanations, just silence and ash. Then, on the 18th world, they found something watching them back. The Unnamed arrived like a storm made flesh, their ships organic and wrong, pulsing with bioluminescence that hurt to perceive. They didn't hail or negotiate, they simply attacked. The Prometheus's shields, designed to deflect micrometeorites and radiation, lasted 3 seconds. Its hull, reinforced titanium alloy, peeled away like wet paper. Only the captain's desperate jump to faster-than-light saved them, the ship barely holding together long enough to reach Sol System with proof that humanity was no longer alone and that what waited beyond was hungry. "We knew we were outmatched," the human continued, his audience now silent, transfixed despite their fear. Every tactical analysis said the same thing. Resistance was extinction. The logical choice was submission, maybe bargaining for time to evacuate Earth and scatter humanity across uncharted space. He smiled without humor. "But humans aren't logical when our backs are against walls. We're mean, we're stubborn, and we've spent our entire evolutionary history learning to kill things bigger and stronger than us." The first battle came at the Kuiper Belt. The Unnamed sent What humanity's analysts later determined was a scouting force 15 bioships, each one capable of glassing a continent. Earth's assembled fleet, cobbled together from military vessels and converted civilian craft, numbered 73. The battle lasted for hours. Humanity lost 61 ships, but they destroyed 7 of the Unnamed, and more importantly, they learned that the bioships regenerated damage but couldn't heal from sustained kinetic impacts. They learned that the creatures piloting them communicated through neural resonance that human jamming could disrupt. They learned that the Unnamed had conquered 100 species, but none of them had fought back like rabid animals defending their last den. On Titan, humanity made its stand. The Unnamed sent their full force, a swarm of 300 bioships converging on Saturn's largest moon, where Earth had established its primary military shipyards. Every tactical computer predicted total annihilation. The fleet admiral, a woman who'd started the war commanding Aor Hauler, gave a speech that became humanity's creed. They're bigger, they're stronger, they've never lost. So we show them what it means to fight something that doesn't care about winning only, hurting them so badly they remember us forever. The battle was slaughter. Humanity's ships, already damaged from previous engagements, rammed enemy vessels when ammunition ran dry. Pilots ejected their reactors into bioship cores, detonating themselves for one more kill. On Titan's surface, ground forces dug trenches with mining equipment and held off landing parties with weapons that would have been antiques on any other civilized world. Chemical propellant firearms, explosive charges, sharpened steel. They shouldn't have lasted an hour. They held for 3 weeks. When reinforcements finally arrived, they found human soldiers still fighting, down to their last magazines, using enemy corpses as cover. And in the wreckage, scattered among countless human dead, lay the bodies of unnamed warriors. The galaxy's unstoppable force had bled. The human in the archive ran his hand along the stasis field, not quite touching the bones within. This one came later, after we'd proven we wouldn't break. The Unnamed sent their champions, planet killers. This particular specimen led the assault on New Mumbai colony. His voice grew distant, remembering. Population per million, civilian target, barely defended. They thought it'd be easy. An amphibious delegate, speaking for the first time, asked the question everyone wanted answered. How did you kill it? The human's scarred hands clenched briefly. Badly. Desperately. We had experimental weapons we weren't sure would work, dark matter warheads that our scientists said had a 60% chance of detonating our own ships. We were past caring about acceptable risks. Command authorized deployment, and I volunteered to lead the boarding team. He pointed at the creature's ribcage, at the places where bones had fused wrong, healing around catastrophic damage. We rammed a frigate through its ship's outer membrane. Half my team died in the initial breach. The interior was biological, pulsing and wet, fighting us like we were infections. We pushed through, following scanner readings toward what passed for its central nervous system. The fighting was close, brutal, nothing like the clean warfare the galaxy understood. Humans with plasma cutters and improvised explosives against warriors bred for slaughter. Every meter cost lives. The human's voice remained steady, but his eyes held the weight of those memories. I found it in the command chamber. 15 meters tall, covered in natural armor plating, mandibles that could shear through bulkheads. My weapon was empty. Most of my team was dead, so I did what humans do when we're out of options. I got creative. He'd used the damaged support beam as a lever, destabilizing the chamber's gravity generators. As the creature lunged, he'd detonated their last warhead manually, point blank, the dark matter charge tearing through reality itself. The explosion should have killed him too. Sometimes, during the long nights afterward, he wished it had. Instead, he'd been thrown clear, found 3 days later by rescue teams, more dead than alive. But the Unnamed's champion was gone, its bioship dying around it. A New Mumbai colony survived. A Velithian elder, voice trembling with something between awe and horror, spoke what others were thinking. Your species fights without regard for individual survival. You sacrifice yourselves as if life has no value. The human shook his head. You misunderstand. We sacrifice ourselves because life has ultimate value. Because each of us knows there are things worth dying for: home, family, the stranger who will never know our name but will live because we stood in the way. You calculated the Unnamed couldn't be beaten, so you didn't try. We calculated we'd probably die, so we made sure our deaths mattered. He turned back to the skeleton. "Every one of these bones represents someone I knew who didn't make it home. This isn't a trophy. It's a gravestone." The archive's curator, an energy being that had observed galactic history for 10,000 years, manifested beside the exhibit. "Then why allow it to be displayed here, labeled as unknown? Why not claim your victory?" The human's smile turned cold. "Because someday, something worse than the unnamed will come. And when it does, the galaxy will look at this skeleton and remember that the species who killed it doesn't run. We hunt." The final battle came at Earth itself. The Unnamed, enraged by humanity's resistance, diverted their full remaining force, a planet-sized dreadnought, a living world ship that had ended civilizations older and more advanced than humanity could imagine. Every species with functioning sensors watched, waiting for Earth's inevitable fall. Instead, they witnessed something the galaxy had never seen: a prey species becoming predators. Every human ship, from military dreadnoughts to civilian transports, fitted with improvised weapons, formed a wall between Earth and annihilation. They didn't retreat when the world ship's weapons began firing. They accelerated. Pilots who'd been farmers and teachers and artists before the war rammed their vessels into the dreadnought's surface. Each impact a pinprick against something vast, but death by 1,000 cuts has ended giants before. On Earth, every nuclear weapon, every experimental prototype, every device capable of causing destruction was loaded onto whatever could achieve orbit. The final assault was suicide, and everyone involved knew it. The human who now stood in the archive had led one of those boarding teams, carrying fusion charges into the dreadnought's organic core. The heat inside was enough to melt their armor. The atmosphere was poison. They pressed forward anyway, leaving bodies with every step, until they reached the heart. "I was supposed to set the timer and evacuate," he said quietly, "but the creature knew we were there. It was trying to heal, to force us out. So I held the detonator manually, made sure it couldn't regenerate before the charge cooked off." He lifted his shirt briefly, showing the patchwork of burn scars and reconstructive surgery that covered his torso. "They found me in the debris field afterward. Took 6 months to put me back together. The world ship had died, torn apart from within by humanity's refusal to accept defeat. The unnamed remaining forces, confronted with the impossible, retreated beyond the galactic rim and never returned. Humanity, bloodied and reduced to a fraction of its pre-war population, stood alone among the ruins of their victory. The galaxy had watched, documented, and learned a terrible lesson, given sufficient motivation. Even the smallest predator can bring down the mightiest prey. The human stepped away from the exhibit, his story told. Around him, delegates from 100 worlds processed what they'd heard. Some saw humanity differently, now not as newcomers to be dismissed, but as something to be feared. Others recognized kinship, finding courage in humanity's refusal to yield. The Velithian elder approached, her crystalline form pulsing with newfound respect. "I apologize for doubting you. Your species has earned its place among us." The human nodded but didn't smile. "We didn't fight for a place. We fought because the alternative was extinction. But yeah, we're here now, and if something like the Unnamed comes back, we'll be ready." He glanced once more at the bones suspended in their field, at the physical proof of humanity's capacity for violence in defense of what they loved. "Species unknown," he repeated, his voice carrying across the chamber. "Leave it labeled that way. Let it be a reminder that the most dangerous thing in this galaxy isn't always the biggest or strongest. Sometimes it's the one that refuses to die quietly." The crowd parted as he walked toward the exit, their various forms of respect offered as he passed. Behind him, the skeleton remained, forever frozen in its stasis field, its true nature now known but its label unchanged. The mystery was solved, but the message was clearer. Humanity had arrived in the galactic community not as students seeking wisdom, but as veterans of a war they'd won through sheer, bloody-minded determination. In the silence that followed, one young delegate asked its mentor what lesson should be learned from this encounter, the elder being considered carefully before answering that there are species who'll calculate survival, and species who'll calculate victory. The first builds civilizations. The second defends them. Pray we never need to learn which one we are. The exhibit remained in the archive, drawing crowds for generations afterward, and every time someone asked about the human who'd killed the creature, the answer was always the same. He'd gone home, back to whatever world humanity now called safe. But the galaxy knew if darkness came again, humanity would be there, rifles loaded, ready to remind the universe that some prey refuses to stay prey.